Hey, what's up, guys? It's Andrew Pecoraro with PecksMetalPicks, and I'm here with.
Hey, what up, fam? I am Joshy, singer of Blessing a Curse. How's it going today, Andrew?
It's going pretty good, man. Coming here today, mostly want to talk about your brand new album titled Waste that just came out a couple days ago. It's a huge step for you guys. I'm a huge fan of it. How has the first week been so far?
It's been really great. Thank you for asking. The response so far from everyone who's been supporting us since our first EP has been just really good. I think everybody likes it a lot, and it is a big step in like a heavier direction for us, kind of like you were saying. And I don't know. It's just the response has been exactly what we wanted it to be, I think, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, we're going to get way more into the details about everything. I know it just came out. Is it too early to really gauge how the fans have received it so far? I have to imagine they're probably pretty pumped on it.
I would say from a statistical, numerical standpoint, all that industry side of things, it is probably too soon to gauge. But as far as like the support from people who follow us, that's been just great right out the gate. I mean, the response has been awesome. Honestly, like I haven't even seen a bad YouTube comment, and I always expect those. You know what I mean? Like people just
Yeah,
YouTube is
man.
a dark place sometimes, but it's like we haven't even gotten anything negative on there either so far. So I'm sure it'll happen, but like yeah, no, it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely a good sign. For the new listeners who might just be hearing about Blessing a Curse for the first time, what are your favorite songs off of Waste?
Ooh, for me, I am very. I would say I'm very emotionally connected to Pyramid Scheme, Vanish, and Already Dead and Let It Kill You. I would say are my four, and probably The Grave as well. But if I had to narrow it down to just four, I would say those first four that I mentioned, just because I feel like we really like those are how we completely envisioned them, like even from the demo stages, and we just were finally able to execute songs the way that we envisioned them from the start. And I feel like that's what every band tries to do, and some get it right the first album, some get it right on their 10th album, but for us, like we finally like hit that sound that we were going for from day one with those tracks, I believe.
That's really cool to hear because Pyramid Scheme is probably my favorite.
Awesome.
Vanish is also really high up there, and then Rat Race,
Mm,
personally, I like a lot.
awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you dig them.
Have you been able to play any of the songs live yet?
Yeah. We played a good chunk of them at our record release show, which was this past Saturday in Orlando, and that was a lot of fun because the response again, like for the crowd, like most of them had not heard these songs live ever before. Actually, all of them hadn't heard the songs live before, but most of them had maybe just heard the songs on recording, the day prior to that. So for them to be as engaged as they were, and for it to be one of the probably the best crowds I think we've ever played to, reaction wise, it was awesome. Because I mean, like there's everybody has that fear in the back of their minds, like when they play like new stuff, they're like, all right, well, this could completely flop and everyone could hate it. But no, I mean, everyone really seems to be engaged, so it was a lot of fun playing that show.
It's so funny you bring that up. I was just talking to Dan Watson, the vocalist of Enterprise Earth, the other day,
Oh,
and
nice.
they're playing brand new songs off the album that they're about to release
Oh
as
yeah.
their first song of the opener. And he said basically the same thing that once you start getting into the new material,
Yeah.
it's kind of nerve-wracking each night,
Right.
wondering what the reaction is going to be.
Right, because you write these songs thinking like, okay, like everyone's gonna mosh here and like everyone's gonna jump in this part, but like you never know until you actually play it, like what they're actually gonna do and if they're gonna be into it. So yeah, it's definitely like a little mini lab experiment every night for sure.
Yeah, especially because, like you said, and I noticed this too, Waste is a little bit heavier than your previous album, Satisfaction for the
Mhm.
Vengeful. Um,
Yes, indeed.
did you guys purposely go heavier? I know you said it feels like you finally found the sound you've been searching
Hmm.
for.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I would definitely say we intentionally wanted this record to be heavier. Um, and that's not what we intended from day one. Like when we first started as a band, like we were like we had this like almost kind of like this. internal joke, like, by the time we come out with our second album, we're just gonna be like a rock band, like no screaming, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and oh my god, that was not what we ended up doing at all. Like, if anything, like just the complete opposite. But yeah, but after we put out our first album, we were like, we kind of want to just be like way angrier than than what we are now. And yeah, like you said, I think we definitely executed that as best we could have with this record, and I'm very pleased with it for sure.
That's so badass because I feel like most bands they get softer over time. I mean,
Hmm.
I could name 10 of them and they're like the 10 biggest ones ever. So for you guys to, head into that heavier direction, it's exciting as a fan of heavy music to see
Thank
bands
you.
going towards that sometimes.
Hell yeah, cool. And you know what? That means a lot because like in my mind, I think the best example I could think of like a band that was heavy-ish starting out, but then they actually went in like a darker direction with their second album would be like Under Oath, for instance. Like the transition from They're Only Chasing Safety to Define the Great Line is one of my that stands out in my mind as like one of the biggest like whoa, I did not see them going in that direction, but I'm so glad they did kind of moments in rock metal history.
Yeah, and I think it'll really, for the bands who do it, it seems like it works out really well for them. Some other ones that come to mind for
Mhm.
me, I think Ice Nine Kills right now is
Oh
heavier than
yeah,
they had ever been.
yeah, love
Icy
that.
Stars, until they went really soft, they
Mhm.
actually were on a heavier path for a while. Each album kept getting heavier. And it seems
Right.
like those are the band's peaks. So
Yeah.
I feel like this has to bode well for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely, I hope it's a continuous rising action for us. But yeah, as far as like where we started out, I think we tried to maybe jump the gun a little bit with our first album. Like I think we intended it to be more like like almost like arena rock kind of deal. And like after we put it out, we were like, you know what? Like we kind of, I feel like we didn't try to like earn the street cred of like the metal kids first, and that's so we're kind of taking a step back and we're like, all right, let's just show people like what we can do as far as the heaviness goes and all that good stuff, and then we'll take it from there for the third album or whatever. But yeah, we really just wanted to have something kind of vicious and merciless sounding for album numero dos.
So when you guys went into writing Waste,
Yeah.
were you all sort of on the same page in terms of, you want to go for this heavier sound, or did you all have to kind of come together and make some compromises?
Ooh, good question. I really, and we're as a band as a whole, the five of us are used to having to compromise on a lot of things because we all do have very different tastes in all kinds of stuff. But honestly, when it came to the decision to be heavier, that was pretty much unanimous. Like there was not a whole lot of compromising that had to be done. Like our lead guitarist Brandon, who writes, like 90% of our music, I would say, he, like he kind of just like sent a couple demos to us and was like, "What do you guys think?" And we were like, "Yeah, dude, this is sick. This is exactly what we want." And he was like, "Oh, really? Like it's not too heavy?" And we were like, "No, this is perfect. Like it's totally what we want to go for." So that worked out really well because normally, we're five assholes who can't agree on anything. So it was it was great that like we were all like totally on board from the start with how we wanted to sound for this run around.
The progression, it really feels like it's there. I mean, this album, it feels like a big step up, and I'm not talking about just in terms of heaviness, but the overall, just the cohesiveness of the songs and the song structures and, the way the vocals have this interplay with what's going on with the instruments. Um, it's definitely a more mature album. And did you guys feel that when you were writing it?
Thank you, dude. Yes and no, I would say, because it's like I think every band wants to feel that with their album, but it's like you can't really know that you did mature in your sound until you hear it from an outside source. You know what I mean? So like you saying that right now is all the validation I've needed to hear that. You know what I mean? Because it's like
Yeah, it's tough to
we
judge
want to.
your own work.
Right, right. I mean, it's easy to hear your own stuff and be like, okay, like I could do this better, I could do that better, blah blah blah. But like as far as like the maturity factor, that's something that like it's hard to really see that within yourself because you are yourself every single day. So it's hard, it's so gradual as far as like maturing as a songwriter. Like, from one album to the next, you don't even notice that you've gotten better at, your vocals or your guitar abilities or playing bass or drums. Even like it's for you, it just feels kind of natural because you've just been doing the same thing every day for years. So when you look back from your first album and you listen to it and you're like, damn, I definitely can do stuff now that I couldn't do then. That's a really cool feeling. But like I said, like, you don't really know that until you hear it from like people that listen to your music on the outside. So I think that's one of the coolest, most redeeming parts about dropping an album.
That makes a lot of sense. For the album overall, um, does it have any sort of overall theme, or do any specific songs sort of tell a story that was important to you guys?
Good question. Man, that's a really good one. I would say we intentionally went for that kind of storytelling motif with our first album and with our EP. But we almost intentionally did not do that with this record, because like the first album, we were like, yeah, it's kind of a concept album. Like, it's about this dude and like, makes a deal with a witch. And like, I had this whole like story in the back of my mind when I was writing the lyrics for a lot of these, and I want to turn it into like a book someday when I'm like an old man, But
That's so cool.
with thank you, but with this record, like, I think we just wanted it to be like a catalog of all the. Can I say bad words on here?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'll
cool.
have the explicit tags. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, I just want to make sure. But I think we want it to be like a catalog of all the bullshit that we've been through in the past couple of years. So like, we didn't really have any set story in mind so much as it's just kind of like a journal of like what we've been through, and not really in any chronological order, because like the second to last song on the record is kind of like about like my wife and like how like she's stuck by me through all the low points in my life. And like, I would, if we were going chronologically, that would be like one of the first tracks on the record, because like, things were a lot harder, let's say 2 years ago, than they were last year or this year and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's a little out of order as far as like the story goes, but I think every song accurately represents a chunk of our lives and where we were at when we wrote them. And it's like I can remember where we were at any given time, and like where I came up with the lyrics for this song and where this riff was written, like what state we were in when we came up with this chorus and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's not really a concept album. It's just a bunch of shit thrown together.
Well, I feel like the sound definitely goes well with that then. If, it's you
Yeah.
venting the frustration and now it's a little bit of a heavier sound.
Hmm.
I had sort of picked up on that, but I was curious, obviously what the vocalist's take was on it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. No, definitely a good question.
Joshy, I have to ask you, have you ever heard of a band called Casino Madrid?
Yes. Oh my God, dude. I love Casino Madrid. Don Vetta is like one of my favorite clean vocalists ever. And like his solo project. Have you listened to Don Vetta's solo music?
What's it called?
It's just called Don Vetta, like
Oh,
Don, and then his last name, I guess, is Vedda. But oh
no,
my
I haven't.
God, dude. Oh, you have got to check it out. Like the minute this interview is done, I want you to look up his solo stuff, because he's just so, it's so catchy. Like it's kind of heavy instrumentally, but then he doesn't do any screaming over it. He just like sings like just like he did in Casino Madrid, and like, oh my God, it's so good.
I'm
But yeah,
definitely
no,
gonna
I've definitely heard of Casino Madrid.
I'm definitely gonna have to look that up because I love Casino Madrid. And
Yeah, dude.
and while I was listening to Waste, I actually think that you sound kind of a lot like their screamer.
Thank you. I will totally take that, dude. Hell yeah.
And there's a couple reasons why. The first one, you have a really solid range, and you do a good amount of the fast screams too, which I feel like trip a lot of vocalists up. But the thing that really closes it for me is sort of like the distressed screams, like if like old Greeley Estates type of stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you get like really the emotions from it. When you're doing that, you sound so similar to the Casino Madrid screams.
Hell yeah. I will 100% take that. Thank you.
I know that's not really a question, but I wondered if you had heard of them or like if they were an influence at all because anyway,
No,
I
yeah,
freaking love it.
I that is so cool. I'm gonna have to go back and like redigest some of their music because it has been a while since I've listened to them specifically. Like I said, I would say the clean vocalist Don is a pretty good influence on me. It just in terms of like the choruses he writes and stuff, like so good. Um, I never have gotten compared to their screamer though, so I'm definitely gonna go back and like re-listen to their stuff and like see if I can hear what you're hearing.
Well,
But
geez,
that's cool. No.
I hope it's not only me, but yeah, especially
I'm sure.
today. I made the connection and I was
Yeah.
like, I can't stop hearing it now. And
Dang.
anyway, I know it's a super
That's
old
cool.
band. Probably nobody listening is going to have any clue who they are, but all of them should check it out too. That's
Yeah. Well,
some
you never know.
classic old
Yeah.
metalcore.
Yeah, man. I haven't heard that name in a minute, but that was like back in the like the good, I would say like 2011 like Chango band days, would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely like where the bands start putting in like synth sections and like piano
Yes.
section type stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
big
dude.
time.
Oh, good. That's awesome. I love that we just got compared to a band from that era because like we're trying to like bring that sort of like 2008 to like 2011 metalcore vibe back because I feel like everyone is so nostalgic these days of like those eras and like a lot of those bands, the like the big legendary like Motionless in Whites and the Devil Wears Pradas of these genres, like they're coming up with these 10-year anniversary tours of their like some of their biggest albums that started it all for them. And I feel like that's created a lot of like really cool nostalgia that like I have not really seen on the internet prior to, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, totally.
sometimes I think, yeah, I think sometimes we feel like we're the only ones that like listened to some of these bands or some of these albums, and then you see like a viral tweet with like 40,000 retweets of someone talking about like the Devil Wears Prada or something, and it just like makes you feel like damn, like okay, so I'm not the only one out here that was jamming that shit. Like hell yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I just really like the direction you guys are going because I am totally nostalgic for that era. It really was the golden era of
Right.
metalcore, and
Yeah.
so many bands have strayed away from that.
Hmm.
And I have some questions about sort of the overall sound of Waste, and we'll get
Yeah.
into that. Um, but I put this one with the Casino Madrid one because it's just another candid question. Your last name is Singer, right? Like Joshy Singer.
Yes, that is my legal last name that I was born with.
And you are the vocalist of a band, which is just crazy to me. I was looking at your Facebook page and just seeing Joshy Singer dash vocalist. I just had to ask this question. How long have you known that you wanted to be a singer?
Honestly, man, I think eventually I just got in like middle school. I got so tired of being like, "Oh, your last name's Singer? Can you sing?" Like that. Eventually, I was just like, "You know what, motherfucker? Maybe I can." And then like I think it just kind of like what's the word? Sprouted from there. Like I just literally was like, all right, I'm gonna hear this joke for the rest of my life. Like, how ironic would it be if I was like, actually, yeah, and check out my band, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's part of I think what got me into it. And then like I don't know, like I started listening to Slipknot when I was like 14, just like everybody else. And then I was like, I want to do that, and here we are. And my dad, who's no longer with us, but it's actually a funny story because anytime I meet somebody with the same last name as me, they're like, yo, are we like distant cousins? And I'm like, actually, we're not. My dad changed his last name legally before I was born from something completely different and very Jewish. It was actually Hofstein, and he changed it legally to Singer. So it was kind of like a Nikki Sixx moment. I don't know if you've seen like The Dirt on Netflix, that movie that just dropped.
No.
It's really good. And it's got Machine Gun Kelly playing Tommy Lee in it and stuff. And like, I don't know, I
Oh,
was
yeah, I've seen
thrilled.
pictures of it. Is it good?
Yeah, it was really good. Like Machine Gun Kelly is a great actor. Like because he's like so like tough and like scary. Like I would not want to mess with this kind of dude. But then like in the movie, he's this high energy, playing like a teenage Tommy Lee. Like they covered up all his tattoos. Like he just looks like this like skinny little nerd, and it's crazy. Like just seeing the story told from that point of view is like it was really dope. And And so I didn't even know that Nikki Sixx legally changed his last name like to Six with two X's. Like it wasn't just a stage name. Like he legally did that when he was like a teenager, I guess, because he wanted to separate himself from like his family and his upbringing, which I think is kind of sort of what my dad did too. I never really got to hear the full story from him when he was alive, but something like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it set you on this whole path. So
I guess so, man. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, and I used to like lie about my middle name too, because I thought it was like way too lame sounding. But my middle name is Harmony. So, like, anytime someone would see that on my license, they'd be like, dude, are you for real? And I'd be like, yep, my dad was a hippie. Yes, my middle name is Harmony and my last name is Singer. Like, okay, haha, let's move on.
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's just like a fun little icebreaker that I like to tell people at parties.
Delving in a little bit more to Waste, I'm going to mention two of the things that I really like about the album. I'm curious to hear about your thoughts on it. The first one is I'm a huge fan of metalcore bands that have like higher pitched screams.
Sweet.
There's really just not very many that do it, and it's like this entire range just gets ignored in metalcore. It's like always an argument about who has the deepest screams and who can go lower.
Yes, yeah.
But they ignore this whole other half of the spectrum, and I really liked Waste because it seems like your natural mid screams are a little bit on the higher range.
Yeah.
Is that a sound that you really try to embrace?
Yeah, that is like, dude, you're like asking the questions that I wish everybody asked right now. Like, this is so cool. Yeah, thank you for noticing that. I would say like, okay, so like mids for me, like you said, like my like mid lows are literally like most other dudes' highs, you know, because I have like zero testosterone in my body, so it's like I have to really dig deep, you know, in my ball sack to get those like mids out, and yeah, so I like pretty much I think like as far as progression and stuff goes, I would say the one thing that I definitely could notice about myself from the first album to like now is that I could like not really do lows at all for the first album, and so like for this one, like I was doing like a couple, you know, there's like parts where I was doing like gutturals and stuff, and like it was just so much fun. But also I feel like I really like got it. It was like highs used to be like my go-to tone, but now they're just like stupid easy. Like I could just wake up first thing in the morning and I can just like do like high screams like right off the bat. It's like lows that I have to warm up for more so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it is just a range thing. Like for me, like I've like always had an easier time doing the high screams, but like you said, like it's very like trendy and in right now to like be as like guttural and as low as possible. And I get that, and I think it sounds super cool. Like, yo, I love Whitechapel. Like, you know, Phil Bozeman was like the main guy that I listened to trying to like get that tone and like figure out how to do those. Like him and the Acacia Strain, like Vincent.
Oh yeah.
Both of those guys are like my two main inspirations for lows. But I'll never forget the first time I heard like the whole "They're Only Chasing Safety" album by Underoath, and I was like, yo, that guy's highs are insane. Like it sounds like he's just literally like ripping his vocal cords out and then just like slamming them against a chalkboard. Like they're so just you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So like meaty and just disgusting. And I always wanted to kind of like emulate that, or like Burt McCracken from The Used. Like that guy pretty much only does highs because you know they're like not a heavier band. They're like, I would say one of those, they're like a rock band that has screaming as opposed to like a metal band, you know?
Yeah.
But I love The Used, and like their first and second albums were just so like iconic of that time. And so I'm glad that you picked up on that, because that is something that I really want to bring back. Like I want high screams to be like cool again, you know? I want people to like do that more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the reasons it works out so well, and this is the other thing that I really like about the album, the higher pitched screams really go really well with the fact that your instruments aren't super down-tuned.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. And the funny thing is, like for our first album, most of the songs were in like drop B, or we had like one or two tracks that were in drop A. But for this one, almost the entirety of the album is in drop C. And that's another thing where we were like, let's just do it in a little bit of a higher tuning. because I feel like I literally remember telling Brandon this. I was like, yo, like if we do our songs in a higher tuning, maybe it'll make me sound more manly. And Brandon was like, cool, dude, I'm down. Let's give it a shot, you know? And I don't know. I think Drop C is like a really good, like bright tuning. Like it's low enough that it's, you know, still kind of beefy and like still hits hard, but like it's really bright and like it just, I don't know. Like I feel like some of our best stuff is when it's played in like Drop C, you know? So
Yeah,
that was definitely a fun.
I think it gives it a little bit more of a fun, bouncy sort of feel.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I think the thing that I noticed after a couple listens that I also really liked is it lets you transition way easier between the screams and the cleans, because
Yeah.
so many bands, it just sounds like two totally different songs when they're doing either screaming or normal singing.
Right.
But the way that you guys did it, it's really a seamless transition most of the time. And then when the breakdown comes, that's when you might do a little drop and go into, something a little bit heavier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. I'm really, really thrilled that you picked up on that too. I never want it to be like, oh, here's the heavy part of the song and then here's the poppy part, you know, like I want it to be like a cohesive like flow from start to finish. And I want the heavy climactic parts to build up and to feel like they belong there. And I know with the first album, there were so many points where I went back and I was like, damn, I would have done that different. I would have done this different. But like with this record, I made sure that like everything that I did, I was like, is this 100% what I want it to be? And like, is this what it needs to be?
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job of it. It's a really refreshing album. The sound, not very many metalcore bands are pulling it off these days. And yeah, I didn't have this written down, but I'm going to add this in as one of my other favorite things because it's in my review of the album. I think that a lot of upcoming bands, they sort of get paralyzed by waiting for something to be perfect, and they end up overproducing the songs into oblivion, and it ends up sounding really similar to a bunch of other stuff that has come out. And one of the things I really liked about Waste is it had like just a tinge of that human element of the rawness to it. Was that on purpose, like when you guys were mixing and mastering at all?
I would say that was definitely something that we wanted to be an end result, but more so as far as like the mix and the not being too overproduced sounding. We really owe a lot of that just to Stephen Hawks, the guy that manned the soundboards for this record, because he was so like just so cool and normal and easy to work with, and like he just got us from.
So Joshy, when we were setting up, we were talking a little bit about social media and some of the changes that have been going on, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on some of these things. So first off, I want to point out that Blessing a Curse has 15,000 followers on Facebook and 21,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is huge, man. I'm really curious if you think, your general thoughts about Facebook and just social media platforms in general, if you think some are surpassing others. I think Facebook is basically the worst one now. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the risk of Mark Zuckerberg and his reptilian cohorts making me disappear, I'm gonna agree with you on that, because it's just, well, yeah, like you said, it's like Facebook. It's it's a blessing and a curse. No, but it like there are good things about it and bad things about it, because like it was the first kind of like home base platform that everyone went to after MySpace kind of died off. RIP MySpace, I'll never forget. But yeah, and it was so good for a while, and then like you said, like around like I want to say like 2011, that's when you started suddenly having to pay for any of your posts to be seen by people that already liked your page, and I think that was just like so frustrating to a lot of us like youngsters who, like you said, like we were like seniors in high school at that time, like we didn't have any money to boost posts. Like, what is this? Like, why do my fans have to suddenly pay to see what I already want them to see? And of course that is like kind of like an industry standard now, like we're all used to that. You can even boost tweets these days. But to answer your question, I do think Facebook is probably the worst because it's the biggest, you know, like everybody, like my grandma has a Facebook, dude. Like I've connected with my 5th grade teacher on Facebook who I hadn't seen her in years and she remembered me. And so like there's cool moments like that because you can reach a lot of people that aren't on anything else. Like I have plenty of friends my own age who don't have Twitter or like don't have an Instagram, and like that blows my mind because like as you know, as like a music person, like you kind of got to be available on everything if you want your own content to be seen. You want to make sure it's be able to be accessed by as many eyes and ears as possible. So for me, I love Twitter just because that's like the only thing that I'm verified on. So
Oh,
I
nice.
love, yeah, I love
I need to
Twitter.
get I need to work on getting verified on these things. What did you have to do? Is there like a quick thing you could tell me?
Yeah, well, okay, so I really feel like I had cracked the formula, right? Like there used to be this verification request form that you could fill out, and I honestly think that the fine folks at Twitter were just like, okay, we just need to verify this kid before he like stabs himself because like I filled it out so many times, dude. Like, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And eventually, like I had enough like proof just from like interviews that I've done and like little articles written about us here and there. Like I think I had enough like press
Yeah,
coverage for people to be like, okay, like these guys are somewhat legit, like cool, let's do this. So but I don't know, they took away the form for a minute there around the time of the last presidential election because I think there were a lot of verified people that were spreading some maybe not so wholesome like political messages and like just a lot of people you know, like using their check marks for evil, I guess you could say. And so I know they took it away for a while, but it might be back up. Like they might have brought back the verification request form. I'll look it up
yeah, I'm gonna have to
after
check it
this
out.
interview is done. Yeah, I'll definitely send it your way if I can find it because I mean I think you definitely have a great page, and I mean you deserve to be verified for sure. Like, but yeah, so like I don't know, I like Twitter. I've had it for like 8 years, man. Like my my ex-girlfriend at the time like made it for me, and I was like, what is this? And she's like, no, trust me, you're gonna like this. You just gotta use it. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then I gradually like started like learning how to tweet more. I think everyone's first tweet, by the way, is like, oh, what's up, Twitter? Or like, you know, like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
how does this
totally.
work? Yeah, like if you go back and you look at your first tweet, you're just like, wow, like I was an idiot. But
That's
that's everybody.
so yeah.
So I mean,
That's so hilarious because literally, as a freshman in college, so like not even just this girl that I was like sort of hanging out with. She's the one who convinced me to go onto Twitter, and
yep.
I seriously think that people's experience on Twitter is they sign up for it and then they look at it and they're like, yeah, I really don't care about this, and then they come back like a year later and that's when they get hooked. At
Yes,
least
dude, literally.
that's what happened to me. And
100%. Yeah, I think that's how it starts for everyone. You're like, so this is it? I just post my thoughts? That's weird. And then like a year later, you wake up one day and you're like, I need to tweet something. And then like you're like addicted from there on out. You're like, I'm just gonna put out there what I had for breakfast and tell.
that's why it's so interesting to look at the way bands are trying to figure out this landscape of the social media of the future. And we were saying how helpful Spotify is. But yeah, I feel like Spotify all of a sudden is becoming a huge indicator for like labels who might be interested in bands or
Oh yeah.
like touring. How many fans can a band draw per night?
I'm still at that point in my career. I just want people to hear our shit. Like you don't gotta pay me. Like that if you want to pay me, even better. Great. You know, we've got merch and stuff, or you can buy our CD, but like I just want you to listen to this one song, like please. So like for from that perspective, I think Spotify is great because like you said, like it's kind of becoming this industry standard. Like for a lot of tours that we've been on and submitted for, one of the first things that their booking agent or their management will ask us for is our Spotify numbers. And that is one thing that I think Spotify gets really, really right, is that like on the artist side of things, they have that Spotify artist app, and you can see literally like how many listeners you have in each city, like in the world.
Oh
And like
wow, I didn't know
where
about
your
that.
song, yeah, you can see. Oh yeah, the statistics are so great. Like, and I used to never care about that kind of stuff, but now I'm like 26 years old, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is so cool. Like I can see, like 128 people listen to us in Helsinki, Finland, one day a month ago. That's awesome. So I can like look into that kind of stuff on Spotify, and you can't really do that yet on Apple Music. And
I've been curious about this lately. With most people listening to their music through Spotify or Apple Music and stuff like that, and maybe not going to sites like YouTube that, that's where the music videos are really hosted. Does that affect,
right.
the making of the music video at all? And I'm like, maybe the resources that you're willing to put into it, things like that.
Mm. Yeah, that I don't think it has. I wouldn't say that it's affected like what resources we put into our videos per se. I do think it has, because we want to make the best video we can make regardless. As long as the budget is there, we want to make sure that we're visually creating a story of some sort that, like, whether it's a plot line or whether it's just us playing in a room, like, we want it to look cohesive with the song, and we want it to make the song sound better. And I think that's all a good music video needs to do. I think it just needs to take the song and make it visually appealing. And as long as your video does that, more power to you. I don't care if you have like a bunch of girls or dogs or clowns or anything in your video. Like, as long as it makes the song look good. But I do agree that I think with the new uprising of like streaming services like Spotify, like, where it's just so convenient to listen to music on the go, and you can just plug it into your car and you can share with your family, and like there's just so many cool things that you can do with these apps on the customer facing side of things. And then like you've got the YouTube app over here where you still can't lock your phone and listen to music.
Oh my God, yeah, I know. How have they not figured that out yet?
Right. I guess they're coming up with their own little streaming service now, and I believe it's called YouTube Red. So like if you have YouTube Red,
I've seen YouTube Red. I have no idea what it's even about though. So like, it's just I don't know. We'll see how many people jump on that then.
Right. And I think, and I commend YouTube for like trying to, like adjust with the times and stuff, but it's like, it's kind of funny because like you can go on like Bring Me the Horizon's Spotify page, and like you can see their music videos and stuff when you play their songs. Like, it's crazy. I don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't even think that we have the ability. Yeah, I think you have to be like a pretty high grossing artist to even have that feature made accessible to you, because for Spotify, like, they just get it. Like, it's so handy to on the go just whip out your phone and look at what your plays are for the day and like who's listening where and stuff. And I think like once like all of I think everyone's kind of like slowly merging to that level and getting there, but it's kind of like a race to the top. And that's why I think Spotify is as big as it is, because they're just doing the most right now.
Yeah, well, it's a really cool look. I had no idea what the artist side of all of that looks like. So that's even cooler that they give you such cool analytics, and it must help the business side of things that you can make decisions and really understand at that level.
Absolutely.
Well, Joshy, I'm almost out of questions here. Really, the last one on my mind is, what's on the horizon for Blessing a Curse? You guys just put out a new album. Hopefully it's not too early to think that far ahead, though.
No, my friend, I agree. I think you're never thinking too far ahead when you're a musician, because we got to be planning way in advance, and these tours are booked months in advance and stuff too. So you got to stay ahead of the game. But yeah, so right now we have we have a little like summer tour that we're putting together with a band that I like a lot. That's like about like on the same level as us, but I would say they're definitely bigger. So I'm stoked on that. I just want to tour with like as many bands that are bigger than us as possible to like really just get our name out there.
Are you allowed to say which band it is?
Every band wants that. Probably not for this tour just yet, only because it's still like being booked and stuff. So I don't want to say that we're gonna do something and then like God forbid if something changes up, or they suddenly decide that they hate us and then they want to kick us off the tour or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to speak too soon here.
Yeah, they might put your logo font size too small.
Yes,
something like that. You never know.
Which honestly, you know what? I remember that happening, and I saw that, and I was like, I'm not going to name any names, but this band, I do not agree with that decision because honestly, like, yo, if we're playing with a bigger band and they want to make our fucking logo like 12-point font, like Times New Roman, like fucking italicized, barely legible, like that's fine, baby. Like if I'm playing these shows and I'm opening up for you, you can fuck my logo up. I do not care as long as we're there. Like I'm just happy, you know? And I think that's the kind of mentality that like you got to have. Like you got to be hungry and you can't be like, you can't get big headed and conceited and be like, oh, well, we deserve this and we deserve that. Cause it's like, you know what? Honey, whatever you think you deserve, there's another hungrier band out there that will do it for half the cost or they'll do
Yeah,
it for like way less press coverage and stuff like that. So, you just can never, I think it's good to as a reminder to stay humble. You can never let that kind of stuff go to your head. But we do have So What coming up in at the end of this month. Actually, we're playing So What in Houston, so that is like going to be awesome because we're getting to like play the same festival that like Beartooth of Mice and Men, Killswitch Engage, Parkway Drive, like all these huge bands that I've been listening to basically since I like knew what music was. Like are headlining, and just to be able
yeah,
to be a part of that is just like so unreal for us, and like we're super thankful for that opportunity. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, like I said, we've got this other tour that we're booking right now. And then as far as like I don't know, like September, October, the late summer, early fall months, we don't have anything on the horizon just yet. But I mean, we're always open. So if you're listening to this right now, bands, and you want Blessing a Curse to tour with you, feel free to hit us up, shoot us an email or something, tweet at us, whatever, and we'll get back to you ASAP. Oh my God, yeah, that's another thing. I would love to play Self Help Fest. Those are so sick, and I got to go to the Orlando one because our label Smart Punk last year they had a tent set up at like all the dates and stuff. So they got me in like VIP or whatever backstage,
oh,
fun
nice.
stuff for the Orlando date. Yeah, it was so crazy because like I'm just walking around like looking for like a porta potty, and then I see like Spencer from Under a Normal Human Being, and I was like, dang, like this is sick, and I love those moments because you're like, oh yeah, duh, like these are all just regular guys, like they shit just like the rest of us, like it's no big deal. But yeah, like Self Help Fest is really cool, and yeah, man, I don't know if you ever started a festival, I think it would be pretty dope because you got a great following. So yeah, man, if you ever
Yeah,
put a show together in DC, hit us up.
yeah, I'll definitely have to reach out. And it's crazy you say that about Under Oath too. I went to, I think, Self Help Fest in 2016, which was
Hmm.
like Under Oath's maybe like fifth show back, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm blanking on what their drummer's name is.
Aaron Gillespie is the one that's
Yes,
the OG guy, and he's back in it now. Yeah.
yeah. So he was backstage and not even backstage, but like back where all the bands just hang out and have like all their food and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And and I ended up hanging out and like talking to him for like 30 minutes, and he was telling me some kind of story about like surfing and like he can't do dangerous stuff at certain times because his contract, like he's not allowed to get hurt, um,
Dang.
because that will just like cost the band a bunch of money and the label a bunch of money and stuff like that. It was insane listening to him
Right.
talking. I was just like, dang, this guy is just like another normal person.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, you just think of like Under Oath, especially sort of the OG people like us. It's like kind of what you grow up on.
Right.
Super cool.
Yeah. It's like right. It's like a legendary band, and then like yeah, like okay, so I like kind of like not even ran into Aaron Gillespie. I shouldn't say, but like I was at the AP Music Awards like 2 years ago. I want to say again with Smart Punk, and like we walked into this hotel like that we were. This is the hotel that we were staying at, and I guess like a lot of other bands were staying at the same hotel. And so like the Smart Punk dudes and I walked into like the cafe area, and I see like Aaron Gillespie just sitting there like eating chicken wings or something, like just trying to like mind his own business, and I made eye contact with him, and like it didn't register who he was at first. I just saw him and I was like, oh, I know that guy, he's so familiar looking, what's his name, and then I was like, oh, I know who he is, and so
Yeah,
it's always funny when you have those first few like initial moments where you see someone that like you have enjoyed their work tremendously, and you do look up to them. Like,
It's so funny you say that too. At that same self-help fest date, after the show was done, Falling in Reverse didn't play at all, but Ronnie Radke just showed up, I guess, for like the after party part of it. And I'm like in a conversation with like 5 other people, and like I kind of turn to my side, and yeah, like Ronnie Radke is standing right next to me, like in this conversation, and I'm just like, holy shit, like it's just crazy.
Right.
And yeah, anyway, he's like a pretty big dude, like super tatted up and stuff, and I was just like, you know, I'm not even a big fan of him or Falling in Reverse or anything, but yeah, like all of a sudden you find yourself next to them, and you can't help but be like, oh damn. It's kind of cool.
It's surreal. It's always a surreal experience when you see someone that, whether you look up to them or whether you've just seen them a lot growing up and have heard their music a bunch. Like, you know, whenever you look over and they're just standing right there, and you're like, oh, so I now know how tall I am in comparison to this person that I've looked up to or whatever. You know, like it's a surreal experience, and like it's always fun. Like, I love that stuff. Like, it's never gonna get old for me. You know, like anytime I get to meet like a band that we've looked up to, it's like, cool, man. Like, now I know you're just a regular dude, just like the rest of us, you know? And I think if you talk to dudes like that, you know, and you're just like, hey, like, how's it going? You know, I've never been disrespected by anyone in like a bigger band like that, you know, because like I always just go up to them like a normal person, you know, and I'm sure you do too. So you never get like, I don't know, they never treat you like some annoying fanboy because you're just like, hey, what's up, dude? How's it going?
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Listen, I really like what you do. Could I maybe get a picture if you got time? And then they're like, yeah, dude, yeah, no problem, whatever. It's no big deal. And I think that's just cool. Like, that's one of my favorite things, I think, about being a musician or music making person in general.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Such a good scene to be involved in. Well,
Sure.
Josh, that's pretty much all I have. Is there any last words you want to say to the fans out there listening?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for listening. And thank you for having me, Andrew. It's an honor to be on here and be your first podcast guest. Super sick. I would love to chat again with you sometime.
Definitely.
Heck yeah. And if you're just listening to this for the first time and you're just hearing about Blessing a Curse for the first time ever, we would greatly appreciate it if you check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you like to listen to music. Also, feel free to like hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, any of that stuff. It's just at Blessing a Curse. Yeah,
guys, and
it should be pretty easy to find us.
And make sure that I was just going to add in and make sure, you know, you guys got to listen to the new album Waste. If I haven't convinced you with all the positive things that I've said about it so far, it's just a really energetic, fun album, and Joshy's vocal performance is really good, and the instrumentals give a really good backdrop for everything he's doing, and it's a sound that you won't find too many other places these days. So big props on that, and yeah, man, super pumped to have you as the first podcast guest.
Well, thank you, sir. Again, it's been an honor being on here. I look forward to seeing who you interview next, you know, and yeah, man, let's talk again sometime. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right. For everybody out there listening, thanks a lot, guys. And like we said, make sure you check out Blessing a Curse and their new album, Waste. And I'll see you next time.